We zijn bij de Daily Caller, een wat rechtse online mediaplatform die ook veel aandacht besteedt aan de campagne. Ik zit naast Scott, een van de editors, en hij is hier in de media actief en ik heb ook een aantal vragen voor hem. So Scott, thank you that I can ask you some questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
First of all, if we look at Dutch media, everybody says it's a done race. Hillary is going to be president. There's no way Trump is going to be president. Is that true? And if not, how can Trump still win?
Well, American media is doing that as the same. Based on the polling, it looks like a strong likelihood Hillary Clinton is going to win. But there are some things that can change because right now the polling isn't as much of a landslide as, say, in previous elections such as 1996, which was a huge landslide, or in the 1980s where Republicans won decisively in all those elections. But what could happen that could change is if Trump kind of narrows the margins down to, right now he's losing around 6%, the polling average, based on the polling averages. As he moves that average down to like 3 or 4 points, he could still have a strong chance of winning because there's two things that Hillary Clinton is depending on to win that could very well change. One is that there's a high turnout of people who are strong base for Democrats, minorities and young people, primarily lean Democratic. They helped elect Barack Obama in both 2008 and 2012, and that's what helped Barack Obama in 2012 is there was a far higher turnout of African Americans and young people than the polls predicted. Thus, he was able to beat Mitt Romney by a much larger margin than people thought. People thought Mitt Romney could actually still pull it off, but he actually had this large turnout that people weren't expecting. And we're still kind of, and a lot of the pollings are based on that kind of same turnout. But with Hillary Clinton, there's very little enthusiasm among young people. A lot of young people are turning to third parties, are not going to show up to vote. And same is happening with minority voters. There's a lot of worries that they might not turn out to vote. They're already thinking it's in the bag. They're not very motivated by Hillary Clinton's message. I mean, if you look at the rallies, like very few people turn off to hear Hillary Clinton speak in comparison with Trump. So that's one factor that could happen is that this turnout of Democratic-leaning voters doesn't happen. And the second factor is that the pollings don't account for a lot of people are very hesitant and reluctant to say that they're voting for Trump. In America, we kind of call it the Bradley effect, where people tell pollsters one thing, but then when they're in the ballot box, they vote a different way. And right now in America, there's huge social repercussions for supporting Trump. If you're in the office and people know you as a Trump supporter, people will berate you. They will, people complain about you. Your employer might even say, like, well, we don't like you having a Trump sticker on your car. We want you to remove it. And even if you're a very public Trump supporter, if you have a Trump lawn sign, you'll have it damaged. You could have your house vandalized. Same with if you have a Trump sticker on your car. There's numerous consequences for having that. So a lot of people see the consequences for supporting Trump, and just even the social one of like being looked down upon by their friends, being yelled at, screamed at, or they think all their friends are voting for Hillary or third party, so they're just going to fit in with the crowd and say, oh yeah, I'm voting for them. But when they're in the ballot box, they could be voting for Trump. So there could be, and I think that's a bigger factor for college-educated whites, is that there's kind of a social embarrassment for voting for Trump. I had my brother, one of my brothers say, like, I find it embarrassing for anyone to support Trump. So a lot of people hear that message among college-educated whites and they're like, well, I don't want to be embarrassing, but when I'm in the ballot box, I'm going to vote for Trump. So there could be, I think there's definitely going to be a significant factor, barring any more major Trump scandals or something that like makes people want to vote for him less. But I think if the polls narrow in the upcoming weeks, it's about 2 weeks till the election, I think Trump could still have a chance.
And we hear a lot about biased media, but is there also something as biased social media in this campaign?
Yeah, absolutely, because what we've seen with both Twitter and Facebook, we're getting out of the picture.
Yeah, we're just going to...
Anyway, and both Twitter and Facebook, there's been concerns that they're censoring certain news stories that are beneficial to conservatives or to Trump. With Facebook, there was a big story because somebody reported that hopefully you guys have in the Netherlands, where it's like trending topics, and the trending topics were always kind of left-leaning or left-favorable topics. And there was a report that the employees were had this policy to always kind of favor more liberal issues, more left-leaning issues against conservative or pro-Trump issues. So there was this big story about that, and there was some evidence of that they weren't promoting conservative content and pro-Trump content. But there's been more of an effort by Facebook to kind of allay those fears and to go with that. And there was even a report this week that showed that Facebook employees were trying to actively censor and suppress Trump posts that were posted by Donald Trump's official Facebook page, and they were trying to deem that as hate speech. And there was a lot of contention within Facebook staff, according to this report, that they were trying to do that very thing. They censor him as hate speech. With Twitter, it's not gone after yet Trump, but there's been a lot of numerous conservative personalities who have been banned from Twitter for offending people or for allegedly offending people who've had their timelines, this thing called shadow ban, where they don't pop up in searches, where their popular tweets kind of like you won't see it on your timeline, and these kind of factors. And also Twitter, when you first log in to your Twitter account, if you're not permanently logged in, you see all the Twitter moments, and all the Twitter moments are very calling it left leaning is even a generous statement. It's always very, very left wing. It'll be like everyone mocks Trump, or it's like Trump's racism hits a new high, or like you won't realize this powerful post by a transgender black female who owns Trump, and that'll be like the most popular moments. So if you're going into Twitter, the first news stories you see are like totally left wing, and that can kind of influence people to like, well, I don't want to be, mocked and be like one of these racists who are supporting Trump, because they'll kind of always highlight those stories. So the fact that these like very anti-Trump, very left-wing stories are the first thing you see before even logging into Twitter, it does have some influence, because millions of people use that, and that could be their first news coverage. They haven't even looked at the news; they're just logging in, and they see all these news reports that are very anti-Trump and very left-wing. So there's definitely been some influence on that. So social, most people in the Western world now get their news from social media. So how social media distributes the content and whether you can have access to both liberal and conservative points of view is a big topic. And I think that's become a big issue in the American election, because there is concern that both Facebook and Twitter, which are the most popular social media outlets, have censored Trump and conservative content.
So it's good to be critical about their social media content.
Don't believe the moments.
No, we're just gonna we're moving around a bit, but I think it was a clear message. We should not believe everything we see on social media or think it's everything, and who knows, maybe there will be some surprises these last days of the campaign.